In this video, we're going to take a look at UConn versus Boston University. Yes, this recap is a bit late, but I've been battling the man flu. Now, in doing this video, I sort of battled with two sides of my brain. One side was the Shawshank Redemption side and Andy Dufresne versus Red. The other side was Charlie Brown and The Simpsons, and I'll get into that later. Before we start, if you enjoy the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. Alright, let's get into this. After UConn's 86-32 victory over Boston University, one thing can't be argued. That was an impressive win. But what can be argued is the level of competition they win against, and hence that's the reference to The Simpsons. I remember the episode where Krusty the Clown was awarding hamburgers based on gold medals, and then the Russians boycotted. Then there's a funny little clip of, like, in the swim race, all the other swimmers drowning because the level of competition was so bad, and Krusty taking a hit on it. And that's the question with this win right here. Can you really take much from it because the level of competition just really wasn't up to scratch? Well, the good thing is we're going to find out in the next few days, because obviously they're going to have their game versus University of South Florida, which should be a much higher level of competition. But I think, much like Andy Dufresne, I think UConn fans have to have a lot of hope after the first game over Boston University, as it's pretty clear all the parts are there. They just need to be put together. And obviously, coming into the 24-25 season, the one part you knew you could count on was Paige Bueckers. The big question was, how are you going to replace Alfy Edwards and Nika Muhl? And yes, this might be an overreaction, but I think they've upgraded on that. If I was offered a trade option of Edwards and Muhl for Strong, Alfy, and Chen any day of the week, I would make that trade and put Strong, Alfy, and Chen on my roster. Chen gives you an experienced ball handler who's played for 4 years. Nika Muhl's probably better defensively, but then the big upgrade is obviously Strong and Alfy over Alfy Edwards. And this is no disrespect to Alfy Edwards. It's just Strong is just so unbelievably dynamic. She just does everything well. She's almost like that five-tool baseball player they always talk about. She can score, she can rebound. She's unbelievably quick with her hands. That's what was off the charts in this game. You could just see her anticipation and just reads the play before it happens. In addition, on the offensive end, it just seems like she's never rushed. She's just always in control and doesn't seem panicked at all. That was exemplified on a play where she'd stolen the ball, got down court, the defense had gotten back, and then she pulled the ball up and gave a nice little shovel pass to Bueckers. With those two on the court, it's just two playmakers, and they're just going to be unbelievable as they get more time and experience together. And I'm not even talking about Sarah Strong's numbers, which were good. In 25 minutes, she went 8 for 12, 1 for 4 on three-pointers for 17 points. She got 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 6 steals. I mean, that's just impacts the game in so many ways. But the other big wow in this game was Jana Alfy. She's just so big, and rebounds are so easy for her to get. Not only that, she has good hands and she moves. She's much better mover than I recall her being when I saw her in the World Championships in the under-20s. And there's no doubt that she'll probably pick up the Nika Muhl. Will she or won't she get in foul trouble and foul out and play that game, unfortunately? But I think that's something UConn is happy to live with versus the Amari DeBerry getting buried under the basket and being a soft big. As Alfy has skills to play on the outside, but as a bull on the inside, and it looks like a beautiful thing potentially. The other thing that has to warm UConn fans' heart is, for once, it seems like UConn has depth as they played 10 players, and there's competition all over the place on this roster. So Chen versus KK, that's an interesting battle. I'd say Chen has the lead on that one. Obviously, that was KK's first game back. It was interesting in the press conference, Gino was talking about how he wants to see KK Arnold run the team better when she's out there without Paige Bueckers. I noted, like, I think it was either the third or fourth quarter, like, they just had a bad turnover. Like, she took the ball to the basket and, like, threw it out and went out of bounds. And I think that's what he's looking for, her to tighten up her game and to become more of a point guard. But even if her minutes are reduced, she will get her time during the season for when the other team has one of those small point guards, i.e. Notre Dame with Miles and Hidalgo. or potentially South Carolina with Full Wiley and Raven Johnson. They'll need her speed out there to stop the ball. The other competition spot that is really good is basically Ashlyn Shade versus everybody else. It'll be curious to see if anybody can knock her out of the starting lineup. So she has a few comers coming at her. So Allie Zabel, who is a slightly taller version of Ashlyn Shade, as Zabel's 6 foot and Shade's 5'10". And they are both shooters. I would say Zabel potentially has the potential to be a more consistent shooter. The other threat to Shade holding on to her minutes or the starting position would be the bigger guards, so Cadence Samuels and Morgan Shelley. Now, Shelley, I think the injuries have put Shelley behind, but it was really good to see her out on the court and not nicked up and being able to play. I think that was a big win for UConn, that Shelley was able to play 14 minutes and seemed to be moving well. With Samuel's got the least minutes out of anybody at 11 minutes. She does look better this year, not surprisingly. The thing that stands out is she just doesn't launch straight away. She takes her outside shots when they're there, but there was one possession where they threw it a few times, and eventually she took the three because the shot clock was running out. But she's doing other things, whether it be rebound or trying to be more impactful on defense. One thing she'll obviously get crushed on, I got no doubt, by Gino and CD, is her inability to make layups in this game. She had a few layups which she just did not finish. It's like KK Arnold when they go against a small point guard team. I think Cadence Samuels has the ability to force her way onto the court when they go up against a big guard team like they did against USC last year, where Ashlyn Shade was struggling to match up and they got Samuel's minutes, and she played well in those minutes and helped them hold up better against the big guards that USC had. So I do see her and Shelley fighting it out for those big guard minutes over the season until Aubrey Griffin returns, which should be somewhere in January. And speaking of players returning from injury, AZ Fudd, that's obviously the biggest threat to Ashlyn Shade remaining in the starting position, because AZ Fudd would just give UConn one more dynamic guard, which would make Beckers and Strong just that more deadly. But then is that just a step too far and too much hope? Should we be on the side of red and hope is a dangerous thing? Is it going to be a Charlie Brown situation where, once again, you're hoping for AZ Fudd to be healthy, but the football is going to be pulled away by Lucy and injury or misfortune? And that's the main thing. Can this hope that UConn has, is they have all the pieces, unbelievable pieces. And I didn't even talk about Ice Brady. I think Ice Brady's fine. I think eventually she will wind up going to the backup forward position. I don't think they're going to be able to keep Alfy out of the starting center spot and having Strong play the 4. And then ideally, Ice would be your first forward off the bench if Alfy got in foul trouble, and then you would have a backup on backup with Patterson that could throw a few fouls and be physical as required. Not to mention, if everybody did stay healthy, it would allow UConn to use pressure defense to get in all the healthy players they have and just throw waves and waves of pressure at teams. Well, is that too much to hope? Well, maybe, but right now everybody's healthy. If they're not, they're supposed to be back this season. And as Andy Dufresne says, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things. Now it's over to you, your comments, your feedback. Do you think, like me, Strong Alfy Chen is an upgrade over Edwards and Muhl? As well, do you see Ice and Shade holding on to their starting spots, or do you think they will be taken by Alfy and Fudd? Again, your comments, your poison, it's all welcome. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good night.